Inspiring moment, millionaire discovers heartwarming bond between homeless mother and sick child. The city buzzed around Jack like a swarm of bees. As he stepped out from his high-rise condo, the elegance of his tailored suit stood in sharp contrast to the chaos of the bustling downtown streets of Chicago. Life was perfect. Jack, a self-made millionaire at 38, savored the sweetness of wealth, expensive cars, exclusive parties, and the envy of many. But amidst the flickering neon signs and street vendors yelling for attention, Jack found himself staring down at a sight that would change everything. Sarah, a worn-down mother, knelt beside her sick daughter, Mia, on the cold concrete. Pale and frail, Mia shivered as Sarah wrapped her thin coat around her. The chilly wind bit through Jack's expensive fabric, but it didn't hold a candle to the biting judgments he harbored for their plight. How could a person let life drag them so low? He looked down at them, dismissing their struggle as a series of poor choices, his lips curling at the edges in disgust. Then, something unexpected happened. As Sarah cradled Mia and whispered sweet nothings, coaxing a fleeting smile from her daughter, a flicker of unease stirred within Jack. Their bond was profound, painted with love amidst hardship. In that moment, as laughter mingled with tears, something broke inside him. The walls Jack had built began to tremble, exposing the fractures of his worldview. An invisible force pulled him closer, and Jack hesitated. Why was he feeling this? With a half-hearted attempt to walk past, his legs turned back. "Hey," he said, his voice softer than he intended. "I can help with her medical bills." Their eyes met, and in that silent exchange, they bridged worlds. Sarah was hesitant, caught between pride and the dire need her child had for better care. Their conversations unfolded, layered with dreams dangling on a thread and the harsh reality they faced. As Jack shared his world, Sarah revealed hers, her resilience and fierce love shining like a beacon amid the darkness. Just as Jack began to find meaning in their connection, doubt clouded his mind. What would his affluent friends think? He craved acceptance within their circle, but something about Sarah's unwavering love for Mia challenged that craving, igniting a conflict brewing within. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Judgment swept through their community like a storm. Whispers floated, people questioned Jack's motives, while others challenged the very fabric of the society that allowed this disparity to flourish. It pained him to see how torn apart they all were, both rich and poor judging one another from their respective corners. Each passing moment tightened the knot in his chest, the stakes couldn't be higher. With every interaction, he learned that real wealth didn't reside in possessions but in caring for others. Jack felt his heart race, caught at a crossroads between embracing this newfound purpose or retreating to the safety of his lavish life. Just when he thought he could break free, a confrontation loomed, an unexpected revelation that threatened to unravel the very identity he had tightly woven around himself. As Jack took a deep breath, the weight of his decision loomed larger than ever. Would he break the chains of fear binding him to his past? Would he risk everything to truly stand beside Sarah and Mia, or would he slip back into his world of luxury and isolation? The city buzzed on, unaware of the monumental choice one man stood poised to make, forever altering the lives of those he met in a fleeting moment. Jack's mind buzzed with conflicting thoughts as he stood before Sarah and Mia. The weight of his choice pressed heavily on his shoulders. He glanced down at their tired faces, feeling a surge of something he hadn't embraced in years: compassion. It felt foreign yet exhilarating. "What do you need?" Jack asked, his voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. Sarah looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Mia needs medication. It's expensive, and I can't provide for her on my own." Her voice trailed off, tangled in vulnerability. Jack nodded, a simple gesture that felt monumental. I can help you. We can figure something out. She hesitated, her expression a bittersweet mix of hope and pride. I can't just accept handouts. I want to earn my way. Every word from Sarah resonated deep within him, echoing back to his own upbringing, where hard work was everything. It's not a handout, he said gently. Think of it as a partnership. I'm not looking for recognition or thanks. I just want to help. As moments passed, Sarah's demeanor shifted. The walls she built around her didn't crumble, but just enough to let a flicker of hope seep through. If I let you help, what will it cost me? Jack flinched, the question striking a nerve. It wasn't just about money, the cost extended far beyond cash. He thought of his social status, the whispers that would follow him back to his posh circles. Was he ready to give that up? I don't want anything more than to see Mia healthy again, he replied, a flutter of doubt cooling his resolve. You are not a burden, Sarah. You're a fighter. For her. The silence stretched, each heartbeat loud enough to fill the crackling air. Slowly, Sarah nodded, a trembling smile forming. Okay. I'd like that. Jack felt something shift within him. It was like shedding a heavy coat, one he didn't even realize was constricting him. The noise of the city faded as he took a seat beside them on the unforgiving concrete. They sat close, the three of them at the edge of a world that felt too vast and unkind. I'll help you find resources, whatever we can do to get the right treatment for Mia, Jack promised. As they spoke, the bond between them deepened, filling those hollow spaces carved by societal expectations and judgments. Laughter broke through their worries, bringing warmth to the cold concrete. But under the surface, doubt began to bubble back up in Jack's mind. Would this really be enough? As he watched Sarah and Mia, he felt a tug at his heart, a yearning to do more. The next day, Jack returned, armed with information and resources, determined to enact change. But the question weighed heavily on his thoughts: how much was he willing to risk to truly connect with them? Sarah, I want to do more than help you with bills, he ventured cautiously. Suddenly, the voice of the woman across the street cut through his thoughts, disrupting the fragile moment. You think you can change the world just like that? You think your money means anything to them? Jack stiffened, the taunt wrapping around him like chains. His resolve tightened amid judgment. He turned back to Sarah and Mia, uncertainty flickering in his chest. Would he stand his ground against the whispers, or let the doubt snatch away this chance for them all? Caught in a web of conflicts, Jack realized that this moment could redefine him. He just wasn't sure how to navigate the turbulent waters ahead, both for himself and for the family that had begun to count on him. Would he dare to face the critics and fortify this bond? Or would the noise of the world drown out a chance for his own redemption? Jack's heart raced as the woman's words echoed in his mind, casting shadows on the warmth he had almost begun to feel. He looked into Sarah's eyes, searching for a hint of disappointment or doubt. Was she second-guessing his intentions? But there it was, that same flicker of hope, bravely shining through her weariness. I'm sorry, he said, breaking the silence. I care about your family. I know I can't understand exactly what you're going through, but I want to try. His voice wavered, but he pressed on. I want to be part of the solution. There was a long pause before Sarah responded, her brows knitted as if she were weighing his sincerity. Jack, she finally said, her tone soft but resolute. It's not easy to trust. I've been let down before. I get it, he replied, folding his hands in his lap, hoping his sincerity would be enough. But I'm here for the long haul. I don't care what people say. You and Mia matter to me. Mia, who had been sitting quietly, finally interjected, her small voice breaking the tension. Are you really gonna help me get better? She asked, her wide eyes searching Jack's face for answers. Absolutely, he assured her, feeling a surge of determination. We're going to find great doctors and the right medicines. I promise you, we'll figure this out together. The sincerity in Jack's voice wrapped around Mia like a warm blanket, and he could see a tiny smile form at the corners of her mouth. "This is just the beginning," he said, glancing at Sarah. "We could make a difference together, but it requires trust. Trust from you, and trust from me to see this through." As they talked further, plans began to take shape. Jack suggested reaching out to local health clinics and charities that might help with costs. They mapped out a timeline and set small goals. The more they conversed, the more Jack felt the weight lift from his shoulders. But with each small victory, Jack's doubts lingered like shadows on the edges of his enthusiasm. He envisioned backlash from his affluent life, together with the whispers swirling in the background. Would he lose friends or face ridicule from those who didn't understand? Time passed, and as the sun began to dip below the city skyline, painting everything in oranges and purples, Jack watched a slow but undeniable transform in Sarah and Mia. They laughed together, an exchange of little inside jokes and secrets that bridged the gap between their vastly different lives. "That's it!" Jack exclaimed. "More laughter. That will be our secret weapon." Sarah laughed softly at his enthusiasm, and Mia giggled like music to his ears. In that moment, Jack realized that the connection they were forging meant more to him than he had anticipated. It filled parts of his life he'd long let grow empty. Suddenly, as they stood to leave, Jack received a notification on his phone. It was a message from his father, an urgent reminder about an exclusive dinner party that night. The pressure surged back like a tidal wave, pushing against the calm they had built. Jack looked at Sarah and Mia, uncertainty creeping in again. Could he abandon them for the old life that had pulled him away from compassion? He swallowed hard, feeling the pull in both directions. I need to choose," he murmured, the weight of the decision weighing heavy in his heart. As he deliberated, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline, realizing that whatever path he chose might alter not only his future but that of Sarah and Mia as well. Would he step into the world of expected norms, or would he choose this uncharted bond he had begun to cultivate? Either choice loomed large, but only one path led to true transformation. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating. Jack's heart pounded against his ribcage as he weighed his options, glancing back at Sarah and Mia. The laughter that had just filled the air now felt distant, a bubble threatened to burst. Each second stretched longer than the last, amplifying the weight of expectation. "Jack." Sarah's voice broke through the haze, anchoring him back to the moment. Her gentle inquiry urged him to consider what lay before him. "What's wrong?" I just got a message from my dad," he admitted, forcing the words out through a tight throat. "There's a dinner party tonight, and he's expecting me. So you'll just go?" Mia interjected, her innocent face now clouded with concern. "No." Jack exclaimed, shaking his head vigorously. "I don't want to leave. I want to stay here with you. I just—" His words faltered. "I don't want to disappoint my family. They've always had expectations." Sarah met his gaze, a storm of emotions swirling in her eyes. "You have to decide what matters more, Jack. Their expectations or the people right in front of you who need you." He took a step back, absorbing her words. There was truth in her voice that cut through the fog of social obligation. The weight of his father's approval felt like a chain that had long kept him stagnant. He inhaled deeply, trying to ground himself. "It's complicated," he replied, frustration seeping through. "It always is in my family. They won't understand." "Maybe that's not their job," Sarah suggested gently. "Maybe it's time for you to understand what you truly want." Mia's small hand reached for his. "You'd rather be with us, right?" Her eyes, wide and earnest, pierced through his heart. "Yes," he whispered, the truth dawning on him like the first rays of a new day. "I would much rather be here." For the first time, a flicker of doubt began to fade. It was replaced by something fierce and unwavering. This was not just about him anymore. It was about Sarah and Mia, about the journey they were on together. "Then stay with us, Jack." Sarah's voice was firm now, a beacon standing straight in the turmoil. Nervously, he pulled out his phone and stared at the screen, contemplating. What if he pressed the button to call his dad and cancel? What if he chose not to respond to their expectations? Taking a breath, he realized something within himself was shifting. It wasn't some dramatic metaphor, it was raw and real. He wasn't abandoning his roots, he was choosing a new path that felt true to who he was becoming. As he finally typed a quick message to his father, a wave of relief washed over him. "Dinner cancelled," he said, looking up at Sarah and Mia with a grin breaking through the tension. "I'm all in." Mia squealed with delight, and Sarah's face softened with gratitude. The weight on Jack's shoulders seemed lighter now, as though a heavy curtain had been pulled back to reveal warm light flooding the room, but just as they began to exchange excited plans for the evening, Jack's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from one of his childhood friends, a group chat that lit up with animated responses, filled with images and jokes. It acted like a siren call, dragging him back toward his old world. He hesitated, staring at the phone in his hand. Would his friends understand? Would they still accept him if they knew? Jack felt the familiar shadows creeping back in, echoing his fears and uncertainties. Would this momentary joy stand strong against the tide of his previous life? His heart raced once more, caught between the laughter of Mia and the pull of expectation. He looked to Sarah, seeking in her eyes an answer for what was brewing inside. Would he allow the noise of the past to drown out the voice of his new journey? The question hung heavy, a suspenseful cliff on the edge of an uncharted path. Jack's finger hovered over the screen, the light from his phone illuminating the conflict raging inside him. The group chat was buzzing with excitement. Old friends sharing memes, planning their night out, the world he once belonged to calling him back. But then he looked at Sarah and Mia. Their smiling faces were bright and inviting, full of warmth that felt right, as if they were a lighthouse amidst his stormy sea of doubt. "What do you think?" he asked, his voice just above a whisper, not sure if he was speaking to Sarah or himself. Could I still be who they want me to be and be here with you too?" Sarah leaned in, her eyes steady. "You already are, Jack. But you're exploring something new, and that doesn't mean you have to cut ties. It's about balancing who you were and who you want to become. You can be both." Mia's small hand tightened around his. "You don't have to go if you don't want to, Jack. We have fun together, don't we?" He nodded, feeling the truth of her words in his chest. But the fear still lingered. Could he truly embrace this new path without feeling the weight of his family's expectations? "I'll always remember my friends, but they need to understand that I'm growing," he said slowly, more to himself than anyone else. It was as if he was trying to convince the insecurities lingering in the back of his mind. "Exactly," Sarah replied, a hint of encouragement in her voice. "You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to change." Jack took a deep breath and set the phone down on the table, the buzz of notifications fading into the backdrop. "Okay. I'm here. With you." A spark ignited in Mia's eyes, and she jumped up, raising her hands in celebration. "Let us make it the best night ever." Sarah's smile was triumphant, a relief washing over her features. "What do you want to do?" Jack felt a rush of excitement flow through him, the uncertainty beginning to lift. "How about a movie marathon? Or we could go stargazing. I've always wanted to do that." "Both." Mia squealed, twirling in circles. Her infectious energy drew them both in, offering a reprieve from the heaviness that had hung over Jack just moments before. As they settled in for a cozy movie marathon, the familiar warmth of laughter filled the room once more. Jack watched the flicker of the screen illuminating Sarah and Mia's faces, joy bubbling in his chest. He realized he was in a place made for connection, for love. Hours later, as the credits rolled, Jack sat back, reflecting. He had carved out a moment that felt right and real, a moment that wasn't overshadowed by his past but instead shaped by his present. Just then, he received another buzz from his phone. Glancing down, he saw it was a new message from his dad. His heart dropped slightly, knowing it would likely be a reminder of his obligations. But instead of dread, he felt a spark of defiance. What would he say? Would he keep the truth hidden, or was it time to be open about who he was becoming? He turned to Sarah and Mia, who were still animatedly discussing the best scenes from the movie. The warmth he felt was electric. His journey was far from over, but right now, it felt brighter than ever. "Looks like I've got a decision to make," he murmured, looking back at the glowing screen, his thoughts spiraling. Would he face the music of his past, or take a firm step forward into his future? Jack's heart raced as he stared at the message on his phone. Each word seemed to echo in his mind, pulling him back to a part of his life he was desperate to redefine. His father's text felt like a cold bucket of water on his warm, newfound fire. "We need to talk. Can you come home this weekend? Are you okay?" Sarah's voice sliced through his thoughts. She must have noticed the shift in him. "Yeah, just my dad," he replied, forcing a smile. "He wants me to come home." Mia frowned, her hand slipping from his. "You're not going to go, are you?" Jack looked from Mia to Sarah, gauging their thoughts. The weight of his dad's expectations gnawed at him, but here, with Sarah and Mia, he felt light. "I don't know yet. Maybe he's just worried. Maybe I should." "No!" Mia exclaimed, her eyes wide. "You can't just drop everything for what he wants. It's your life, Jack." "Yes," Sarah added, her voice firm but encouraging. "You've made progress. You're finding yourself. Don't let anyone dictate your choices, even if it's your dad." Their support felt like a warm hug around him, pulling him back from the edge of doubt. Jack squeezed Mia's hand tighter, trying to absorb their words. "What if he doesn't understand? What if he doesn't accept me?" "Then he doesn't," Mia said, her innocence stark against the seriousness of the moment. "But that doesn't mean you stop being you. You can be yourself, and he can catch up later." Jack's chest tightened. Could he really confront his dad about who he was becoming? The fear of rejection loomed over him, but so did the promise of authenticity. In that moment, he realized that Mia was right. Growing didn't mean discarding his past, it meant embracing all parts of himself. "Maybe I can tell him I'm figuring things out," Jack said slowly, considering the possibilities. "That I need to explore who I am." "Exactly," Sarah said, her face lighting up. "You're not asking for permission, you're sharing your journey. That's brave." They spent the next few hours talking about everything, from movie quotes to dreams of traveling the world. Jack felt lighter, each laugh building up his courage. But as the night wore on, the message replayed in his head. His phone buzzed again, this time with a picture. It was a photo of his dad, smiling at the camera in their backyard, the familiar greenery of home framing him. In that moment of innocence, Jack felt a pang of longing. He missed that garden, the barbecues, the laughter, the memories. "I wish I didn't have to choose," he whispered, almost to himself. "You don't," Sarah replied, her voice wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. "You're allowed to live in both worlds. You just have to find a way to connect the dots." That was it. Jack didn't have to cut ties completely, he could bridge the gap between the past and the present. With newfound determination, he took a deep breath and decided, tonight wouldn't just be about laughter on the couch, it'd be about connecting with the man who had raised him. "All right," he said, his voice steady. "I'll respond. I'll talk to him." The thought both terrified and exhilarated him. Normally, that would have been the end of it, but the tension in his heart hinted at something more. There was a chance of rejection, a risk of hurt, and amidst that, a glimmer of hope that perhaps honest communication could lead somewhere beautiful. His phone buzzed again, but this time, it wasn't just a message, it was a call. The screen showed his dad's name lighting up. Jack's heart raced, but he had already decided. This was it. As he stepped toward the phone, he felt the gravity of the moment. Was he ready for this? "This is it, Jack," he reminded himself, inhaling deeply. But when he answered, he hadn't expected what would come next. "Hey, Dad," Jack managed, his voice trembling slightly. "Jack," his dad said, the formal tone laced with an undertone of concern. "Glad you picked up. I don't want to catch you at a bad time." Jack swallowed hard, sensing the tension in the air. "No, it's fine. What's up? I just wanted to talk about everything. Your message the other day caught me off guard." There it was. The quiet accusation hidden within his father's voice. Jack clenched his fists, feeling the familiar wave of anxiety cresting. "Yeah, I know. I've been trying to figure things out. You know I'm not the same kid anymore, right? I just want to understand," his dad replied, an edge of desperation creeping in. "Things have changed so much since you moved out. You're not a child anymore, and it seems like you're moving further away from what we had." Jack's heart sank at the recognition. This was the part of their relationship that was always tenuous, like a tightrope walk in the dark. "I'm not moving away, Dad. I'm just trying to find out who I am. I need you to see that." The silence on the other end felt like a wall. He could almost picture his dad, hands running through his hair, struggling to process Jack's words. "I just don't want you to lose sight of your roots, son," his dad finally said, his voice softening. "Family is important. I miss you. We need to talk about this in person." Jack stared at the photo of his dad on his phone again, memories flooding his mind, the old swings in the park, the evenings spent on the porch, laughing under the stars. But as quickly as the warmth came, doubt shadowed it. "What if you don't like who I'm becoming?" Jack asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Look, Jack. I may not understand everything, but I'm here. I want to listen, to be there for you. Can you promise me that you'll try to talk to me openly? Just give it a shot." There was a sincerity in his dad's plea that pulled at the strings in Jack's heart. This was the moment they had both waited for, the chance to bridge the gap that had grown so wide. "Okay," Jack said, his voice firmer now. "I can do that. I'll come home this weekend, and we'll talk." "Thank you," his dad replied, relief flooding his words. "I'm proud of you, and I love you." As Jack hung up, he felt a surprising weight lift off his chest. Maybe coming home wouldn't just be a burden. Maybe it could be a step toward understanding. "Jack." Sarah's voice was gentle as she interrupted his spiral of thoughts. "You good?" "Yeah, I think I am," he said, glancing at Mia, who looked hopeful. "I'm going home." "Wow, that's huge!" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Just promise me you both will be there, like, in spirit or something." Jack chuckled nervously. "Always," Mia said, squeezing his hand tighter. In that moment, a promise began to take shape, a promise of connection in a space that felt alien. Jack could feel a flicker of hope ignite within him. But as the night settled in and they prepared to head home, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was on the horizon, a moment that would change everything. What awaited him back in that garden? Would they embrace their past as they forged a new future? He felt a shudder of anticipation. "Stay close, okay?" he murmured, lost in thought. As he closed his eyes, he couldn't help but think, maybe he was strong enough for this next step. Maybe home would welcome him in ways he couldn't even imagine. And then, an unexpected whirlwind of feelings surged through him. What if there was more than just a conversation waiting for him? What else might change? He took a deep breath, heart pounding, ready for whatever would come next. It was all worth it, wasn't it? The journey wasn't just about reaching home, it was about who he would become there. But just before drifting off, a nagging thought went through his mind: what if this talk didn't go as planned? What if everything crumbled? Little did Jack know, the answer would soon unfold, shaking the very foundation of everything he thought he understood. Saturday morning dawned with a light that felt different, softer, like the world was holding its breath. Jack stood in front of his bathroom mirror, staring at his reflection. There it was, the familiar face of uncertainty, but beneath it, something new was brewing. He straightened his shoulders, summoned a bit of courage, and rushed through his morning routine. Mia and Sarah had offered to drive him to his childhood home, adding an air of camaraderie that calmed his nerves. They laughed through the drive, trying to distract him from the thoughts swirling in his mind. "Just think of it as a family reunion," Sarah teased, nudging him playfully. Jack forced a smile, but the anxiety bubbled beneath, disrupting his bravado. "Right, a reunion filled with all the heartfelt awkwardness," he replied, but his voice trembled slightly. As they crested the final hill, Jack's heart raced. The two-story house loomed ahead like a sentinel of his past. It looked the same, yet somehow different, each window appearing to tell a story he hadn't lived in years. The garden, now overgrown with wildflowers, reminded him of summer spent planting seeds with his mom, laughing as the dirt caked their hands. Together, they pulled into the driveway. Jack stepped out first, legs shaky as if he were about to step onto a stage. The laughter faded and silence reigned, hanging heavy in the air around them. "Want to wait in the car?" Mia asked gently, her hand resting on his arm. "No, I need to do this," Jack replied, trying to find strength within the nerves. He walked to the door, each step heavier than the last. He knocked, hesitantly, and the sound echoed through the stillness. Moments stretched into what felt like hours until the door creaked open. His dad stood there, clearly surprised, eyes widening as recognition settled on his face. Jack, his voice was firm but broken. "Hey, Dad." Just like that, the walls they had erected between them felt like they began to dissolve. There was no need for pretense, just raw honesty. But the moment of connection was interrupted by an urgent whine from within the house. "Hold on!" his dad yelled, his tone shifting from surprise to a sense of urgency. As his dad turned, Jack caught a glimpse inside and it struck him like a bolt of lightning. The living room was filled with family pictures he had long since pushed to the back of his mind. His heart sank when he saw a hospital bed in a corner, framed by a haze of hard reality. "Is something wrong?" Jack ventured, worry flaring. Before his father could respond, a woman emerged from the shadows, holding a small, pale child, his sister. She looked frail, eyes glassy and unfocused. "Jack," she whispered, recognition flashing across her face, despite the shadows grasping at her spirit. Emma, his breath caught, realizing the impact of their fractured family tree. "What is going on?" he asked, feeling panic swell once more. "Jack," his dad finally said, his voice trembling. "We haven't told you everything. Emma is sick, really sick. We need your help now." The gravity of those words crashed into him, leaving no room for the anxiety he had just begun to navigate. Everything he thought he knew about home, about family, bonding was shifting right before his eyes. Jack's heart raced as he absorbed the unfolding reality. Could he step into this role? Could he support his family amidst their struggles? And for a brief moment, he thought about what this reunion could mean, not just as a son, but as a brother. But just as hope flickered within, fear crashed in again. Could he really handle this weight? The moment stretched, and Jack could hardly breathe. What lay ahead would shape not only his future but the very fabric of his family. As the heaviness of their situation loomed around him, a question echoed in his mind: was he truly ready to step up for the family he had been missing? Jack's mind raced, a whirlwind of emotions spiraling through him. He gazed into Emma's fragile eyes, seeing the spark of recognition that flickered momentarily before surrendering to shadows of pain. The picture of her as a bright-eyed girl, full of life and laughter, clashed with the frail child before him. How had it come to this? Is there a lot I don't know? He thought, stepping into the house, every footfall echoing his uncertainty. "Come in," his dad murmured, eyes darting toward Emma, who clung desperately to her mother. She looked like a wilted flower, needing more care than he felt capable of giving. Jack's heart twisted with the weight of responsibility that fell onto him without warning. What do you need from me?" Jack asked, his voice faint but steady, edged with a desperation he couldn't quite suppress. His dad shifted uncomfortably, memories flickering across his face. "We thought we could manage," but his voice faltered. "It's a lot to deal with. She needs someone to help us care for her." Jack's stomach churned. The question of whether he was ready to leap into this unknown consumed him. "Do you think I can do this?" he wondered, questioning his abilities as he stood in the family room, the weight of familial ties both a comfort and a burden. Emma drew closer to her mother, staring at her brother as if searching for assurance. Her gaze was piercing, expecting something he wasn't sure he could give. I don't know how to help," he admitted, feeling a panic rising within him, churning with the fear of failure. "Just being here is a start," his dad said softly, brows knitting together in shared concern. As they spoke, Mia and Sarah hovered just outside the door, their expressions a mixture of support and worry. Jack turned, noticing how they were ready to leap into action if needed. It filled him with both gratitude and frustration. He wanted to prove himself, but doubt gnawed at his resolve. "I feel like a stranger in my own home," he muttered under his breath, eyes drifting back to Emma who sat silently, her little fingers curled around her mom's hand. "Then be the brother she needs," his dad replied, the strength in his voice faltering for just a moment. "We need you, Jack. You're not a stranger here." That single sentence resonated deep within him. Could he conquer this whirlwind of emotions and find the brotherly love he buried long ago? A wave of warmth surged through him, the knot in his stomach loosening just slightly. Maybe this was a chance to reclaim a part of himself lost to time and distance, a part he thought no longer existed. He took a step closer to Emma and her mom, drawn to the fragility of the moment. "Okay, I'll help," he said, his own voice surprising him with its strength. A flicker of a smile crossed Emma's lips, a shy spark in a clouded world, and something inside Jack shifted. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he could learn to love fiercely, even amid uncertainty. But just as hope began to blossom, his phone buzzed in his pocket, a stark reminder of the world outside waiting for his attention. It was Sarah's name flashing on the screen. "What if I need them?" he thought, glancing at the buzzing call. Yet deep down, he felt the pull of responsibility win out over his need for comfort. "Stay," came the gentle encouragement from Mia, not knowing his internal battle. She could see the jarring conflict on his face, the way his heart was pulling him in different directions. Jack took one last look around at the familiar surroundings that felt newly foreign. He made a choice to ease into this moment, to embrace the chaos of family and vulnerability anew, but as he stood there, waiting to answer the call, a sudden thought gripped him. What happens now? Would stepping into this role strip him of the life he had built? Or could it be the very thing that would heal him? The ringing continued, insisting, and with each vibration, a shadow of doubt clawed at him. Was stepping up really going to be the right choice? Letting two worlds collide could change everything. He took a deep breath, glancing at Emma's fragile figure once more, and whispered, "This is only the beginning." But would he have the courage to see it through? Jack's breaths came heavy as he faced the growing challenge laid before him. His father's gaze held a mix of desperation and hope, and for the first time in a long while, he felt the soft tendrils of responsibility wrap around his heart. Emma's frail form drew him in like gravity, urging him to step closer. "Okay, I'll help," he finally confirmed, the words tasting both strange and liberating on his tongue. It was a commitment. A promise to embrace not just his past, but to forge a new future alongside his family. Jack could see a flicker of hope in Emma's eyes, momentarily defying the shadows that clung to her. But how? He wondered silently. What can I really offer? As the silence hung heavy, his dad's voice cut through. "We need you here. Just being present, showing her that she has someone to lean on will mean the world." Suddenly, the door swung open wider, and Mia and Sarah stepped in, their faces brightened by a mixture of concern and unwavering support. Jack felt a surge of gratitude as their familiar warmth enveloped him. This wasn't just his battle anymore, he could share it. The new family he found in Chicago infused courage into him. "You're not alone, Jack," Mia reassured, her small hand slipping into his. "We believe in you." Jack turned toward Emma, who was still nestled against her mother, largely unaware of the evolution taking place around her. "Hi, it's me, your brother," he said gently, kneeling down to her eye level. Emma blinked, her curiosity taking over. "Do you really want to help me?" she asked, voice fragile yet hopeful. "I do," Jack replied, feeling sincerity swell within him. "I want to know you, to be the brother I should have been all along. I know it's scary, but I'm here for you." Mia squeezed Jack's arm. "We'll be here too, every step of the way. We can help you figure this out together." The room felt lighter, the burden stored in silence beginning to lift. Jack exchanged glances with Sarah, who offered a shy smile that promised solidarity. The fear within him started to soften, replaced by an unknown determination. What if I fail? He worried, his mind racing, but as soon as the thought surfaced, he shoved it aside. "This is about them, not me," he reminded himself. Jack rose to his feet, a fresh wave of resolve washing over him. "Let us start small," he suggested. "What does she love to do? What makes her smile?" "Her art," his mom chimed softly, her voice tender as it melted into the atmosphere. "She loves to draw when she has the energy." "That's perfect," he exclaimed, excitement bubbling in his chest. "Let us put together an art day then. We can fill the room with colors and laughter." "You'd really do that?" Emma's eyes sparkled as if awakening from a dream. "Yes. We'll decorate the whole place. It'll be our little art gallery," he declared. Suddenly, Jack felt a rush of inspiration surging through him. "Mia, can you help me gather supplies? Sarah, can you manage some snacks?" he asked, feelings shifting in him like trees bending to a gentle wind. "Count me in," Mia said, ready to leap into action, while Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "I can help with the setup too," Sarah added, her eyes lighting up at the thought. As they began gathering markers, paper, and paints from nearby stores, Jack felt exhilaration building. For the first time, he wasn't just stepping up, he was forming connections. He glanced back at Emma, who beamed with a mix of anticipation and awe. Hours later, the table overflowed with bright colors, laughter bouncing off the walls as they experimented with designs. Jack stepped back, watching Emma with pride as she created flower drawings under the gentle guidance of her mother. In those moments, he caught glimpses of the little girl she used to be, radiant and full of life. "You're doing amazing," Jack exclaimed, pride lacing his tone. Emma shrugged slightly, but the smile crept back as his words sank in. It was visibly affecting her, her energy seemed to vibrate with newfound joy. Before he knew it, he switched from supporting Emma to feeling embraced by her spirit. Drawing beside her and watching her shine. Through every stroke slapped away the last lingering fears that had haunted him. He realized that this was not just about Emma, this was about reclaiming his place in the family, about rediscovering connections that had long needed nurturing. The sounds of the world outside began to fade as laughter enveloped them, the burden of the past slowly drifting away like autumn leaves. Jack felt content, a feeling that had evaded him for so long as he worried about wealth, status, and expectation. Suddenly, the call of his phone brought him back, buzzing insistently with another message. This time, however, he didn't hesitate. He knew his place here, filled with love and connection, was where he needed to be. "I'll handle it later," Jack decided, pressing the phone into his pocket and returning to Emma's side. "Let us finish this masterpiece." And just like that, the world outside melted into the background. The laughter, the colors, and the love they shared filled the room, redefining his definition of family. They had gone through struggles, but it was together that they began weaving their paths anew, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky a beautiful amalgam of colors, Jack felt hope pulsing in his heart, a belief that while the journey ahead might have its bumps, this was only the beginning. He had stepped into a new chapter, not just for himself but for Emma, his family, and the bonds they were building together. It was time for a fresh start. And Jack was ready. Now, as we close this emotional chapter, there is something important you need to do. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.